Hey everyone, Michelle Lim here, your friendly neighborhood comedian. This week I'm going to be talking about whether you should ask your friends to come to your gigs. I'm very excited about this video. Um, and what else was I going to say? If you haven't seen me before, I make a lot of videos on like tips and tricks on how to do comedy. I am like a real comedian. Someone left in the comment section like, what do all these YouTube comedians look like they're teaching maths or something, which is weird. And I was like, I'm not a YouTube comedian. I'm a comedian who's also on YouTube, man. Get it right. I started on the streets, okay? Back in 2009. Jesus. Anyway, so before that, I wanted to give a shout out to my new subscribers. So shout out to Sadant, Pep, Drasman, Yannick, TK, Mike, Anne. Big shout out to Anne. I feel like I don't get that many female subscribers because I guess it's a little skewed in comedy, or maybe they don't need my help because they're killing the game already. And Nerdswell as well, who also might be female. So special shout out to you if you are. Um, so yeah, as I said before, I wanted to talk about if you should bring your friends to your shows because it's an interesting topic and something that maybe you haven't thought about in having pros and cons, but it definitely has pros and cons. Um, so let's go through the list. So for a pro, obviously you'll get like a lot of support and maybe you won't feel as nervous and you might be more confident because all your friends are going to be there and they'll be really encouraging and you know that they're not going to be judging you or maybe they will be judging you but it won't be that bad if you bomb. So that's kind of cool. If people are always asking you to attend your gigs, then this might be a good time to remind them like, hey, I've got a gig, maybe you should come over and check it out. Um, which is fine. You might get booked more for shows if you bring friends along because they might buy tickets or they'll buy drinks at the bar and they'll kind of fill out the bar and it's just more enjoyable when there's more people watching comedy. Like I have done a lot of shows where there's not that many people and it's been fine, but in general it's more fun when there's more people and the booker will appreciate that. So they might give you more time on stage or they might reach out to you more frequently to get you stage time or you might get like a better time slot, like earlier in the night or whatever, which is more convenient for you. So these are our benefits for asking your friends to come for shows, which is great. On the flip side of that, though, I don't particularly like asking my friends to come to shows if it's been advertised as one of those shows which is like, hey, like bring all your friends. If you bring 10 friends, then you get an extra minute. Because for those shows, I kind of feel like it's a bit of a red flag. Like the booker should be able to fill out the crowd on their own. And obviously it's great if you can help them, but I don't feel like they should depend on comics to like bring their friends because that's a lot of pressure on the comics and their friends. And I feel really bad when I go to a show and I brought all my friends along and it's just not a very good show. Like the comics that are performing aren't very good. I guess that's the main thing. And then I just feel really bad because my friends have all come along and it's like not a great night because everyone's not very funny. And then everyone feels like they've wasted a lot of time, but they're too polite to say anything because they're thinking like, great, Michelle's not very good. She's performing with these people who aren't very funny, and now we've all wasted like 2 hours. So not a good night for anyone. So I suppose I would suggest if you're gonna bring your friends to a comedy show and you're not really sure if it's gonna be good or not, to check out the show beforehand. Like maybe go the month before, if it's every week, go the week before. Just see what the vibe is like, and then think like, do I want to bring my friends to this show? And if it feels okay, then yeah, bring them along. Um, so on the con side of things, um, it might be embarrassing if you bring all your friends along and you don't do very well, and then you embarrass yourself in front of all your friends, which isn't actually too bad. I would probably prefer to no, actually, I'd probably prefer to embarrass myself in front of people that I don't know. Or I don't know. I don't get embarrassed very easily, so I'm not sure. The second point, which is not great, is that you might not be able to gauge how funny your jokes are because if your friends are there, then they'll probably be really encouraging and they'll laugh really hard or really loud at everything you say, even if it's not very funny. So you don't get a true gauge of whether your material is funny or not. Um, and on to that, I have a little bit of a pet peeve, which is like when you make comedy friends and then they go to your shows or they're just like hanging around because they're on the same like set list as you and if you're kind of bombing, I feel like a lot of comedy friends will laugh really loudly and be really sarcastic, like it's some sort of in joke that you and they are in that they know that you're bombing. But then it's really rude for the audience because the audience is kind of like, I don't really understand what's happening and it's not that funny, but like one person's like laughing really loud. So I don't know, I don't really like that. And I feel like if you're going to be a comedian and and watch the shows, then you should watch it from the viewpoint of just being like a regular audience member and not do anything like out of the ordinary, because then it just makes the audience feel uncomfortable, and it's not a show for you and your one friend who's in the audience. Like, it's a show for everybody. Another con might be that people will have to pay for tickets if they come to your show, like if it's a paid show, and that might be annoying if you keep asking your friends to come to these shows and then you're doing the same material and they always have to pay for a ticket. So I feel like friends are usually pretty great and they don't mind paying to come and see you and support you, but you might want to think about like who you're asking and how frequently you're asking, and if you're changing up your material before you keep asking them every week to come and say the same material, because it'll probably get kind of annoying. Um, and then the other thing, which I think is a con, which people don't really realize, is that if you bring all your friends to the show, then after the show, you can't really socialize with the other comedians because, you know, your friends will probably want to go have a drink, or everyone's going to take a photo with you because you've done such a good job. And I always feel like whenever I bring my friends to comedy shows, it's really great, but then I always feel like I have to go and talk to them after and thank them for coming, and that eats up time where I could be talking to other comedians and just networking with it, which is also a very important part of comedy, is like building up your comedy networks and congratulating other people in the show and saying like, hey man, or like, hey girl, I really like that set you did. I'd love to like connect with you on Facebook or whatever, and if you have any other gigs, or you know, maybe we can work together in the future. And I feel like if you have friends, then you might neglect to do that. So that's another con which people often don't think about. So, in summary, I think that it's great if you can invite your friends, but I would be very strategic in like when you invite them, because they're your friends, they want to support you. But for me, these are the sorts of things that I do. So I always tell my friends when I'm having like a free show or like a pay by donation show, so then they don't feel financially like, you know, it's not like a financial burden for them to come out and support you, right? Because I don't want to make them feel like I'm freeloading off them and just getting them to buy tickets for all these shows. Um, I also really space it out, so I don't ask my friends all the time, or I don't ask the same friends all the time unless I have new material. I want to make sure that my friends only see my material like once or twice, and then when they next see me, then I've got new material, because I feel like it would be boring for them to see the same material over and over again. Even though when you're performing, there'll be other people that are doing new material that they haven't seen before, so maybe it's enjoyable for them to see like the other people and you as well, even if you're doing the same material. And then lastly, um, I like spacing it out because I know that when I have a big show, like when I have my solo show, I'm gonna need all my friends to come, and I want to like save up those favors for like when I have a big solo show, so that I can be like, hey, dude, please come to my show. Like, bring all your friends, bring all their friends to come and see my solo show. So I want to make sure that when it's really important, I haven't exhausted my rent a crowd for those big occasions. So they're my points on if you should bring your friends to your shows or not. I hope you enjoy it. Please follow me on Instagram and Twitter. Not Twitter. Sorry, Fred. I don't have Twitter. Instagram and Facebook at Mayor of Easy Street. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. And I will be back next week with a new hint for you guys. So thank you so much. Have a great week. And I'll see you next time. Bye.